To the majority of television fans, Abe Vigoda will always be known for his time playing Detective Phil Fish on Barney Miller. He stumbled his way into acting after being given a small role in The Godfather, though Barney Miller proved his big break. The character of Phil Fish later was given his own spin-off series dubbed Fish. Join Factsverse as we take a look at the sad story of Fish from Barney Miller. When the series Barney Miller premiered on TV in 1975, it was initially meant to focus evenly on the titular character's home life and his work life. Of course, that was Captain Barney Miller, the head of the show's 12th Precinct. Over the course of the first season, it became apparent that the ensemble of characters were a good deal more interesting than those comprising Barney's family. Because of this, the show began to focus more on the precinct. Of all the detectives found within the 12th Precinct, the most popular with television audiences was undeniably Detective Phil Fish. Fish was a lovable curmudgeon, and the character was actually meant to be a good deal older than Abe Vigoda was in real life. After the first season of Barney Miller proved the success it did, the producers got the idea to give its breakout character his own spin-off series. A backdoor pilot was worked into the second season by way of an episode named Fish. The episode revolved around the character of Fish and his home life, similar to how Barney Miller revolved predominantly around Barney and his. Series creator David Arnold was hesitant to let the character of Fish go from the greater ensemble of characters that had made Barney Miller's first season so popular, but the network eventually talked him into it. Meanwhile, Abe Vigoda was ecstatic about the prospect of having his own show. Fish's backdoor pilot wasn't initially a hit. Prior to the second season episode of Barney Miller called Fish, the character of Fish's wife had been seen on the series twice. On both of these occasions, an actress named Florence Stanley played the character. Florence was unable to film the backdoor pilot episode Fish, so she had to be replaced by another actress. Doris Bellac was her name. In addition to Fish's wife, another character in the episode was Fish's daughter, played by Nancy Levine. Upon airing the episode, the concept was initially deemed too uninteresting to support a series. With his tail between his legs, Abe Vigoda returned to performing his supporting duties on Barney Miller. Meanwhile, the producers started brainstorming other ideas for spin-offs. One idea would have each episode focus on the home life of a different detective in the 12th Precinct. But the popularity of Detective Phil Fish persisted. Eventually, the concept of Fish was picked back up and turned into its own spin-off series. This time, actress Florence Stanley came back to play Fish's wife. Fish premiered in 1977, between the end of Barney Miller's third season and the start of its fourth. Series creator Danny Arnold had initially intended for the character of Phil Fish to continue showing up on Barney Miller in some capacity. But when this idea was brought up to Abe Vigoda, the actor threw a fit. It seems Abe was adamant on forming his own identity away from the parent sitcom. Sadly, Fish didn't prove nearly as successful as Barney Miller, but it did last for 2 seasons. This video is brought to you by Established Titles. Have you ever been interested in being a lord or a lady? With Established Titles, now you can become one. For real. You could officially change your name to Lord or Lady and get it on your credit card, plane tickets, etc. You can even get it on your dating profiles. You can purchase title packs that give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland. With the purchase, you'll receive an official certificate with a crest. Your certificate features a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. Established Titles told me that the first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our little Factsverse kingdom. They plant a tree with every order and work with global charities, One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future, to support global reforestation efforts. It makes an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running an early Black Friday sale, plus if you use the code FV10, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/FV10 to get your gifts now and help support the channel. The spin-off series was different from the backdoor pilot. The actual series Fish featured a slightly different premise to the backdoor episode. This time, the series focused on Fish and his wife's tribulations after adopting a bunch of kids. Todd Bridges played one of them. Of course, Todd was a child performer who was later utilized on Different Strokes. The first season of Fish was only 13 episodes long, but it was deemed successful enough to warrant the creation of another. Still, the show was never the success that producers had intended it to be. Many blame the show's lack of success on the fact that it was never aired back-to-back with its parent sitcom. Though Fish was a direct spin-off of Barney Miller, the two shows aired on different days. The spin-off series Fish wasn't a huge success, but it was allegedly successful enough that a third season was in the works before Abe Vigoda demanded too much money. Once the show ended, Abe returned to Barney Miller to finish his time out as Detective Phil Fish. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Abe became a character actor after Barney Miller. Thanks to his time playing Detective Phil Fish, Abe Vigoda remained a fairly reliable character actor until his death in 2016. But the performer never got the star-making turn he had hoped the spin-off series Fish would be. Though Abe found success as an actor during his adult life, he didn't intend to as a child. Abe came from humble beginnings. His father was a tailor. When it was time for Abe to pick a profession, he initially decided on printing. But World War II got in the way. He served in the war abroad before returning to America. It was around this time that he had a change of heart and decided he wanted to be an actor. Fate took over when the young actor saw an advertisement seeking unrepresented performers for an audition. The audition was for an adaptation of the best-selling Mario Puzo novel, The Godfather, and Abe ended up being just what director Francis Ford Coppola was looking for. Though Abe didn't have a very big role in the film, it remains a memorable one. The actor made an impression on audience members, and it was all because he didn't have an agent. And it was as a direct result of this role in The Godfather that he was able to secure his breakout role. Towards the end of Barney Miller's run, there was a rumor going on that Vigoda had passed away. The rumor started when a journalist accidentally referred to the actor as the late Abe Vigoda in an article. Thankfully, the rumors were wrong. Abe Vigoda was perfect at playing an old man. Abe Vigoda already seemed like an old man when he broke into prominence during the 70s, though he remained relatively sprightly and active until the new millennium. After Barney Miller ended, Abe started showing up in random movies. In 1990, he appeared alongside Tom Hanks in Joe vs. the Volcano. In 1993, he returned to his Godfather roots by voicing a mafia-related role in Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. The biggest supporting role Abe received was arguably in the 1997 family film Good Burger, based on the Nickelodeon series. In the film, Abe played an elderly fast food worker who was just as curmudgeonly as Phil Fish. In 2006, Abe got the chance to reprise his role from The Godfather in a video game based on the film. Surprisingly, Abe wasn't the only cast member from the original film that was convinced to return. The video game featured voice work from both James Caan and Robert Duvall. The game was even able to secure a few lines of spoken dialogue from Marlon Brando just before his death. The aging star required an oxygen tank during recordings. Abe Vigoda was married 2 times over his life, though not much is known about his first wife, besides the fact that they had a daughter named Carol. Much more is known about his second wife, named Beatrice Shai. Abe and Beatrice married in 1968, before Abe had even performed in The Godfather. They remained married until Beatrice's death in 1992. Abe passed away at his daughter Carol's house in January of 2016. He was 94 and died of natural causes. When the announcement was made, most people who saw it thought it was just another hoax. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you a fan of Abe Vigoda? What's your favorite role of his? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.